right, so what we're going to talk about today is things you should and should not do to your house when you're getting ready to sell and looking at improving some of the features about your home. So definitely number one, and I mean absolutely number one on the list of things you should never do to improve the resale value of your home is install a pool. And you may or may not have already heard that, but that's just a hands down rule. There is no exception to that rule. The only time you should ever put in a pool at your house is when you personally plan on getting all the use out of it for the money that you spend on it. So if you plan on spending $30,000 for an in-ground pool, you should plan on trying to get $30,000 worth of use out of that pool, because when you sell it, you would be best served by planning to get $0 back out of that pool. A lot of people will put them in and then think they're going to get dollar for dollar on a pool, and that's just not the case. At best, you might get a $5,000 bump, maybe a $10,000 bump from having a pool. But so, you know, right off the bat, you know that that's a losing proposition. You would never want to spend that money if you were only going to make, if you were going to spend 30 to make 5, that just doesn't make sense financially. So that's one reason not to put in a pool. The only reason that you would put in a pool is if literally all of your neighbors have pools and you're one of the few on the street that does not have a pool. So that would be a rare exception. But by and large, do not put in a pool. Also, when you're considering some upgrades to do to your house, leave a little bit of room for the next person. What I mean by that is, don't do everything. You know, if the house needs a lot of work, you know, do a lot of things, but don't make it absolutely perfect unless you just really want to and have the time. But leave something for the next person, and that's because people like to see a little bit of potential in a house. They like to see, I like the way this is, I don't like the way that is, I think I can upgrade that and make it a little bit better. So leave a little bit of room for the next person. So, you know, leave a nook unfinished or unimproved, you know, a little reading nook, or, you know, if there's a window that needs to be replaced, you know, maybe change out the window, but don't redo the entire side of the house where the window is. So look for ways that you can improve the house so that you'll enjoy it, but try not to do everything if you can help it. So another thing not to do for your house is don't finish the basement. The basement is another one of those things that you do if you're going to enjoy it. And basement square footage, when it is finished, is only worth at best about 25% of the value of main floor square footage. So just understand that when you're going in, that if you're going to plan on finishing a basement, you're only going to get about 25 cents on the dollar per square foot that you would for the main floor square footage. In other words, if your main floor square footage is selling for $100 a square foot because of all the comparables in your neighborhood, your basement is only going to be worth about $25 a square foot at best when it's finished. If it's unfinished, it's going to be worth $0. So know that. Again, the reason that you would finish out a basement is that if you were personally going to make use of the basement while you live there. That's one of the reasons that when we moved into the house that we're in now, it had an unfinished basement. And so we spent the time and the money to finish it because it helped us. It was one of the steps in the process of taking the house from about 1,750 square feet when we finished off that basement and enclosed the garage and added another garage. You know, we added almost 700 square feet to the house. So that gave us a lot more square footage for us to use while we live there, but we definitely aren't planning on getting dollar for dollar for the basement. So leave the basement unless you're going to use it. So only put the dollars, only put the money into that basement, and likewise that pool, that you're going to personally get back out of it while you use the property and while you live in the home. So a couple things to do, just to give you some positive tips, some positive reinforcement, is have intentional spaces in the home, and be intentional about the spaces. In other words, make things serve a purpose. So if you have dead space somewhere and it's just sitting there taking up a corner and your furniture doesn't fit in there or something like that, do something with it. Try to take up the dead space with something that looks decorative, something that can be functional. You know, if you have a weird corner in the house, build some shelves into it, you know, and you can put some decorations around it. You know, get on Pinterest. You know, as much as many people hate Pinterest because it's just an envy machine, you know, I envy this person for their perfect little reading nook or their perfect kitchen or their perfect, you know, island or whatever. one of the great things is that you can use that for some really good ideas and some simple things that you can do around the house to make use of some of those spaces that you should make use of that are just sitting there dead. Another thing to look at when you're selling your house, and maybe some money you should spend somewhere, is to kind of copy what the neighbors are doing in terms of their curb appeal. And if you have friends that are neighbors, you know, where you go into their house on a regular basis, you can see what they're doing. You know, try to make your house more or less match the theme and the style of the homes in the neighborhood with a certain amount of individuality. So what I'm saying with that is, you don't want to be the oddball on the street. You don't want to have some wackadoo color scheme on the outside of your house. You don't want to have some totally dysfunctional floor plan. You don't want to have you know, weird looking shutters and windows and angles to your roof, things like that. So be original, but stay in the lane, you know. So stay in your lane in terms of decor and home features.